We're talking about race directing and race series over the weekend. Go ahead and play it. This is from the FIA KZ2 European Championship from last weekend. On screen, you got Thomas Stolzmannis in the energy, getting brake check there in second by Christian Bertucca. And this is in a heat race early in the weekend, then goes low, gets swerved at, gets blocked, then Bertucca goes back up and opens up for the corner. So breaking down, we were saying about driving standards being bad. Now, it's obvious if that was an intentional crash that took them both out and potentially harmed them, you'd see some penalties. What's frustrating about this, and this is where, again, a lot of parents have kind of given some frustrating feedback to the series and to Tim, like he mentioned, of series not being consistent or whatnot, there's always a chance the stuff gets missed. I'm going to call the FIA guys right now. Play that again one more time, Aaron. We're going to point out where the only penalty out of that interaction came, and it came right here when Bertucca brake checked Stolzmannis. You can tell it's a brake check because the line was so wide, or the shot was so wide that the guy in third and the guy in fourth were still going at the same speed, if not even faster than the kid in second. This was for the lead
This is for second in the superheat on Sunday. So this is like the pre-finals that we do here. This is a superheat there. And yeah, Stolzmannis, the driver in the energy, was the only car to get a penalty. And there was nothing else there. I can understand in that first moment where he got the penalty, like, okay, you bring it down, you're running in shallow, you park it on the apex, argue it's not a penalty, whatever. But like coming down the front straightaway and you turn your head and swerve as hard as that Burrell Art did, that like you can't let that get missed, especially with how some of the wrecks have been recently. And like you said, if that was a wreck and somebody did get hurt, that would have been a penalty.
I've taken up for a lot of race directors on this show and race officials because I've been in those shoes of when stuff happens further back in the pack, when stuff happens fast. But when anything happens at the front, there's really no excuses because the spotlight's there. The leader was gone. This was the next biggest battle. There's no question that shouldn't be missed. So then you think, okay, that's not missed, and that's how those guys are okay racing with. And the reason we take issue with that, we only discovered this clip for this show off of a Karting Kids fan page, and I say kid because it's probably run by some of the junior and the mini kids that usually make those Instagram karting pages and Facebook pages. They watch this stuff. When we look at the audience for the FIA karting events, it is a big audience of sometimes 30, 40,000 daily views and probably a unique viewership of 10 to 20,000. That's more than just the friends and family of those drivers, those events, because those events aren't any bigger than what we have over here. But they're probably all go-karters. They're not so much racing fans as other forms of racing. So when they see that and when that gets clipped and when it goes on Instagram and it gets a bunch more views and the kids watch it, that translates over here. So in a desperate plea, whether or not the FIA listens or watches anything on the show, that stuff is terrible. You guys, not only they can, you can say, all right, this is why we're wrecking cars in F4, F3, F2, F1, because, yeah, a lot of the FIA ladder in karting is specifically looked at as strictly an academy to cars, but that trickle down goes back the other way. And what we're going to see next week, hopefully not, but probably some kids that watch that and instinctively would make that kind of move where, again, not only would they brake check a kid knowing that there's a pushback bumper penalty, which number one, FIA in your KZ races, there is no excuse with the field sizes you allow on the racetrack and the fact that you guys are standing starts to even have pushback bumper penalties in the shifter classes for your events. We take them off for half our series over here, and the other guys that don't take them off are pleading with the series to take them off. USPKS is taking them off for Houston, so you don't need them. You're only having it because you're lazy race directors, and that right there is a prime example of lazy, lackadaisical, not wanting to make any judgment call decision because you're letting them kill each other. You're letting an obvious brake check go, and you're just defaulting onto your automatic pushback or bumper penalty that isn't protestable. And it's despicable and it's terrible. And the only reason we're talking about it being halfway across the world is because with the streams and what you're showing to the kids of the sport that watch that stuff, because they all do in one way or another, whether it's live or on a clip, they're going to mimic it. It's ridiculous. So if anyone at the FIA sees this clip, do something. You need to do better because that is atrocious. And there's a reason why we have our license system in place. We're having to do that here because your license system, what you have, what you're charging $525 for, is not doing anything to clean that kind of racing up. That's ridiculous. It's unsportsmanlike. And I hate to just cook up Christian Bertucca. I think that guy's fast. That guy came over to Supernats. I don't remember him having any problem. He came over here and ran top 20 in Pro Shifter last year out of 88 guys. This just happens to be the week that he's cooked. And that's the bigger problem. Unlike what Tim was saying, where there's only a couple problematic children here and every once in a while they make bad moves, When you as a series don't do that, when it's in the spotlight, when it's on your TV cameras, when the announcers in the clip, which we have muted, are saying, I don't know if the officials are going to do anything, and you don't do something, you're setting a terrible standard, and you guys suck. That's just it. That just sucks. It's terrible. It's all for the sport. I don't know what kind of message you're sending, but it's bad. Do better. That's all that I have to say on that. There's nothing else to add on to that, but just terrible freaking driving. And worse than that, the drivers are doing it because they're not getting penalized. You can roast Bertuca all you want for what he did, but that's okay over there. It's terrible.